guys, just a quick note before we start the show. Please consider supporting us on Patreon at Bottled Classics. Patreon is a monthly subscription crowdfunding platform that offers you exclusive Bottled Classics content like bloopers, behind the scenes, extended sound bites that we couldn't fit into the show. Let us fulfill your need for more collaborative storytelling. And again, thanks for the support. Now, on with the show.
Congratulations! You found us!
I'm Kate.
And I'm Amelia.
And we're discussing that book you should have read,
You said you read,
but you didn't read.
We're going to give you a reason to join a book club you can snack behind.
And to lubricate the experience, we're going to pair it with a special drink.
Welcome to our party!
You can be in your PJs.
No judging.
Welcome to Bottled Classics.
At last, a place to slightly care.
Hi, Amelia. How are you?
Hi, Kate. I'm good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. So, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I'm surprised because I know I had read it in high school. I didn't remember it too much. And I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to read this. Just, because of the nature of the show. But it was very surprising. I really got into it, and it was a very good read. I was looking forward to reading it every day. There were a couple moments that I thought were really great that were, just like, oh, it's just still so important today.
I'm excited that we started with To Kill a Mockingbird. It's one of these books that everybody's like, oh, that's my favorite book. And I'm like, really? I don't even remember that book. You read it in 8th grade. Everything went over my head. I completely didn't understand the significance of a lot of moments in the book just because I didn't relate to it yet. And now, being a lot older, I understand, and I'm like, oh, well, this book is really great. Totally missed that the first time around, so I'm glad we started to get into it.
And I think, even when you read something when you're younger and then reread it later in different parts of your life, you catch different things and you totally relate differently. But also, there's things that because the story's told from a little girl's perspective and as a kid reading it, you're like, yeah. And then now as an adult, you're like, oh, no. Kid, you got that wrong.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to reread it as like your grown-up self.
Okay, so Amelia, I'm really excited to introduce you to this wine that I've paired with To Kill a Mockingbird. It's by this company called Gruet, and it's a Blanc de Noirs, which Blanc de Noirs literally translates as the white of blacks. So it's an exciting thing because it's a sparkling wine made from Pinot Noir grapes, where they gently press the grapes and the juice runs off the skin.
Which is interesting because I know nothing about the wine process. I just drink it.
Right?
Right.
So if you think about it, it would be like having a red wine, except for it's a white wine because there's no skins in the process.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but all the grapes look the same inside, right?
This is true.
I don't know all my grapes.
Just like humans.
Yeah.
We look the same on the inside.
Disgusting inside, mushy with blood.
Exactly. So what do you think of this wine?
I mean, it's very delicious. I don't have anything sad to say about this.
Do you want to know what they say about it?
Like the people on the street?
The people on the street. They say it's... what these people say. They say it's pale salmon in color.
Oh.
Okay. Full-bodied wine that has a fine mousse and a creamy, rich texture.
I do love reading the descriptions on the back of wine bottles because I find it really interesting. It's like, I guess I can taste the salmon. Okay,
no, there's no salmon in it.
I know. It's just like, it's kind of very Michael Scott where he's like, this tastes like a red,
Yeah.
or whatever. But
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it is nice to have like the picture, but then sometimes I think with wine, especially with me, I do just want to drink it and enjoy it. And if I like it, I like it. It doesn't matter what the brand is, but it's really pleasing. Like, I mean, I think 'cause sometimes with sparkling, even though they're all great, it just, they kind of feel like acid. Not like acid. I'm sorry.
You're right.
Like acidy or something, but this one
is
goes
like
down
strong.
really nice.
This one's very smooth. So I think it's something that a lot of people, would enjoy drinking.
Yeah.
If I want to serve something sparkling, this would be like the perfect thing to serve.
I could see this going really well with wings as well. Something crispy to pair, just like balance it out.
What crispy thing did you pair with this,
well,
Amelia?
I meant like lemon pepper wings or hot wings or
well,
cake. anything.
Really.
Well,
bubbly
no,
bubbly goes with all
it does
things.
go really well because our snack for the day is Alabama firecrackers, and I am a wimp when it comes to heat of
So am
spice.
I.
mean,
I can't do heat.
I appreciate the flavoring, but
Right.
I need definitely something to cut it. And I think when you're having spicy stuff, you kind of want to have something cold and refreshing. So these crackers are actually, and we'll do a little video of how to make these for, I mean, it's so easy. Like I did this literally while we were running a bath for my daughter. My husband was there. It wasn't unsafe. I was in the kitchen. It's fine. But you basically just put in a Ziploc Ritz crackers and some olive oil and red pepper chili flakes and Italian seasoning. And that's literally it. And you shake it up. And you let it, but you do have to do this 12 hours at least ahead, and then you got to rotate the Ziploc bag or something. But that's basically it. But it is like, it's really addictive. You do need to pair it with, I think, some sort of dip of some sort. And we've actually done a little
cucumber
dill.
A dill special
dip.
dill dip.
And I'm partial to Greek yogurt just because I like the richness of it. But I'm sure a sour cream would do heavenly. And with the beverage, it feels good. I could totally see adapting this recipe to do different things. I could see pairing it with some fruit and probably something else. But it would be a great like appetizer for any kind of get-together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Super Bowl Sunday.
You have all of these ingredients in your home. I mean, maybe not a gallon-sized Ziploc bag unless you're like a mom and you have to have gallon-sized Ziploc bags like me.
Yeah.
Because
You could do a Tupperware.
But you could do multiple sandwich bags if you needed to. It would just take a while.
You could be eco-friendly and just do Tupperware.
I don't know.
You could do a bowl and just toss it in a
I
bowl.
guess you could do it, you know what you could do? You could do it in a casserole dish or something, and then you could rotate it. It just, sometimes you need a Ziploc
vessel.
bag. I don't know. I'm not trying to hate the environment, but maybe a Ziploc bag.
All right. Well, great. Let's get into it. What do you think?
Well, about the book, not about life.
Well, let's start with chapter 1.
Yeah.
When Amelia was born.
Chapter 1, an
Chapter
embryo.
1, an embryo. So this is our introduction into the family and our main characters.
I really loved the first chapter, because, you know, we find out we're in the voice of Scout, and she's about 6 years old at the time. She paints a really great picture of the town that she lives in, which is Macomb, and it's in Alabama during the 1930s, right after the Great Depression. It's after the crash. I guess it is kind of a rural town. It's kind of like the gem of the county is what they say, but it's within farmlands and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would probably compare it to your bigger of your small towns. Like this is where this is where the
That's
post
where the market
office
is. Yeah.
This is where the shopping market is. That's where you would go for everything. But it is a small town. There's not a lot of traffic. There's
there's a lot of gossip.
A lot of gossip.
And there's a lot of social standings. There's like older families that are doing better. But I mean, to be honest, there's not really a lot of better going on. It's just like varying grades of like you're starving to like you're eating.
It is the Depression.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's doing really well.
Yeah. So Scout's dad, Atticus, they're part of the Finch family, and they historically were landowners, and they had like land property. But Atticus and his brother are the first ones to kind of be professionals. Like Atticus went to be a lawyer instead of doing that. And I think that probably gives him a little bit of an edge because his skill isn't dependent on land, and it's not dependent on other things. Like everyone needs a lawyer at some point, especially during this time. So he gets paid through trade a lot and stuff like that. And I think she is kind of on the nicer end of the spectrum. Who else was in there that we? Calpurnia.
Calpurnia. She is a mother figure for Scout and for Jem.
Jem is her older brother, who I think is about 4 years older. Yeah. And Calpurnia is their black cook, who's basically raised them their whole life. And she's really like firm and like, you know, kind of like gives them their what's up. Like
good, strong mother figure.
Yeah.
By the way, we do introduce that Scout's mom died about 2 years after Scout was born.
Right. So Scout doesn't really feel it. I mean, Jem definitely does. She's just like, she doesn't have a lot of female influence. She's definitely hanging around all the guys. And she thinks she's just as tough, and she's very smart, and she can read.
And that's when we meet their friend that comes to town that summer, which would be Dill.
Yeah. I think he's maybe a year year or so older. But he's like teeny tiny, apparently. He's like a little pumpernickel.
Oh, that's
he
so
is.
cute.
He's just like a whippersnapper. I'm just trying to get in there.
And he's very smart for his age.
Yeah.
So he was very proud that he was like, I can read. You know, which is something that I think is important.
Not many
because
did.
Scout could read because her father taught her.
But even for a young kid, she was reading a lot. But that was their bonding or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think with Dill, so he comes to town in the summer. And he's visiting his aunt because apparently he just kind of gets shuffled around is basically what it is. We don't really know because Dill's a storyteller. He's always kind of like making these big stories up. And the way that Dill and Jem and Scout interact is Dill became cool because he had seen movies. And so he reenacted the movies. And that was basically like their YouTube without the tube kind of thing. But then it kind of hits a point when he finds out who Boo Radley is. And that's like the town rural legend who he just never leaves the house, which is also kind of creepy. It's like this in this town, he never leaves. So he's fascinated. He wants to get him out. And so the whole summer is like, let's try to get him
Boo out. Oh, the other big thing that happened in chapter 1 was the dare.
Yes. So that was their huge progress of chapter 1 is essentially Jem went all the way to the front porch and slapped it.
Yeah. Because
Dill
called him a chicken.
Yeah. And that was showing Dill what's up. Like
he
that
slapped
was it.
the front porch of Boo Radley's house.
Yeah. It was a big day.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. All right. Chapter 2.
Scout enters the first grade. It doesn't go well. She embarrasses the new teacher, Miss Caroline, and Scout teaches her about Walter Cunningham and the rest of the country kids in her class. Chapter 3. Jem invites Walter home for lunch after Scout beats him up in the schoolyard, and Walter pours syrup all over his food, just like that scene in Elf.
When they return back to school, Miss Caroline is horrified when she sees a bug come out from Burris Yule's hair. The more horrifying part was that none of the kids were phased, and Burris just found more up there. Ew. I love how you made Miss Caroline so nice, and I was like, she's an idiot!
But Scout describes her as nice.
I know.
Scout even says, like, if she wasn't so pretty, I would be like,
it's so funny, but to me when I read that I was like, she's so pretty but she's dumb.
Like
that's how I read it.
She just wants to do. I totally get Miss Caroline. That's the problem. Is like I understand 100%, and she's like, I learned how to do this. I want to do it the proper way.
Just like they told me.
I'm young and inexperienced, and I'm like, this is my class. I'm gonna change the world. Like I totally understand where she's coming from, and that's why it's like
I think I'm a Burris Ewell in this moment because I was just like, listen, lady, you gotta assimilate here.
Yeah.
All right, sorry about that.
I feel for Miss Caroline. Chapter 4.
Scout and Jem find chewing gum in the knot of a live oak near the Radley's house. Scout crashes her tire into the Radley's yard and hears laughter from inside the house. The children begin playing Boo Radley, and Atticus shuts that down. They actually play with scissors to do a stab scene. I was thinking someone was going to die or get pierced in the eye or something. I was like, are you nuts? I'm sorry. The scissors was really freaking me out.
Didn't
Don't play with
Atticus
scissors.
take the scissors from him? Oh,
yeah,
so
why are you playing with scissors?
The backstory is Boo stabbed his mom? Stabbed somebody with scissors.
In their fictional...
But
did we mention that too? That Dill and Jem and Scout are starting a play about what happened to Boo Radley.
Was it true, or was that their fictional play?
But they also
it's all made up. Okay.
And they also play different characters in town.
Right.
Which I think Miss Maudie and others kind of like noticed.
Mm-hmm.
And also
the parents were definitely aware of what was going on.
Yeah. Chapter 5. Scout learns more about Boo from Miss Maudie.
A neighbor lady who's obsessed with gardening and the best baker in town. My hero.
The boys try to give Boo a letter. Atticus has had it with Jem tormenting the Radleys. Jem takes it very personally and decides he won't be a lawyer when he grows up. Probably join a punk band or something. Chapter 6. The night before Dill was leaving for the summer, the boys include Scout on their plan to go up to the Radleys' house at night, and they get surprised when Mr. Nathan Radley, Boo's dad, shoots a warning shot.
No, that's not Boo's dad. It's his brother.
No, Nathan Radley?
No, Nathan Radley's the
This whole
brother.
time I thought it was his dad?
No, it's his brother.
No.
Yes, character list. I have it right here.
Auto Classics problem.
Oh, no. I noticed that. I was like, no, that's wrong. Nathan Radley, Boo Radley's brother, who comes back to live with the family when Mr. Radley dies.
Okay. Well, see, this is why there's two of us. Okay, so we'll just say...
That's his brother.
Boo's brother.
Because it's weird that, like, the brother does the same thing that the dad did. Like, you would think that the brother would be more sympathetic.
Yeah, I think what happened with the Radleys is I got so bored. I was like, come on. This whole family's messed up.
They are
and I
messed
think
up.
to me, I'm just like, might as well be the dad. So Nathan must be the oldest?
No, I thought he was the
Or
younger
was he the
one.
youngest?
He was
'Cause-
the younger brother. Like, Boo was the rebel, right? And that's why they kept him home. So I think the younger brother...
And then he was sick.
Right. And then the young... Because they probably gave him a lobotomy. That's what I assumed they did. You didn't get all that?
No. I think I just, like, glazed over the Radleys. Like, I really don't think... Like, I just feel kind of like, what?
Oh, but that's how I felt. Like, the Radleys were so
Yeah,
fascinating
something happened.
to me. And
I
that's
thought
why he's
people didn't
inside.
survive from those back then.
They did, but they
They
were
did?
like comatose stroke patients. Like, that's what it became.
Oh, I thought he just, like, came down with the sniffles for, like, decades. Like, he was just
No.
like, I'm so sickly and I
took
don't
him
see the sun.
No, they took him to an institution. Remember,
To straighten
'cause-
him out.
Right,
instead
because
of prison.
the scissors, remember? Like, he gets institutionalized. That's probably where they gave him the
Okay.
lobotomy or shock therapy or
And
whatever.
that's why they were like, leave him alone.
and
Poor
leave him
kid.
inside. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Eye opener.
Now I feel so bad for Boo. But this whole
Yes,
time, I mean,
that's
I
the
felt
whole
bad for Boo
point.
because he was isolated. But I,
Yeah. That's the way I always understood
See-
Boo, and that's why he's portrayed like he's super sickly. He's kind of
I just
a little
thought-
mentally slow.
I just thought after a while, when you don't see the sun, you get sickly too. See, this is why you have to be part of a book club, because sometimes you don't read the words.
Well,
Okay,
so
lesson
that's
learned.
why the
Okay,
brother
we
came
figured this
home.
one out.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go.
All right. I remember reading there was a brother, but I
Yeah.
didn't, like, in my head the whole rest of the way I was like, the dad. Just, but I guess he was very dad-like, but that's
Yeah.
so funny.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just really didn't, I just didn't care about him. Even though I know they're part of the fun.
Yeah.
How funny is that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Chapter 6. The night before Dill was leaving for the summer, the boys include Scout on their plan to go up to the Radleys' house at night, and they get surprised when Mr. Nathan Radley, Boo's brother, shoots a warning shot.
Jem's pants get caught in the wire fence, and he ditches them, and all the children meet up back at home. When Atticus notices Jem's pants are missing.
He's pantsless. Panic Dill comes up with a cover. They were playing strip poker.
And Jem is like, oh, we were playing with matchsticks. Oh, how do you play strip poker with matchsticks? I want to know how to play that game.
I liked how he was just like, you guys settle it yourselves, get out of here. He was basically like, go get your pants.
Yeah, go
that
get
was
your
like,
pants. I want your pants back.
yeah, Atticus was great.
And then the reveal when Jem goes back where his pants got caught.
Yeah, and they're sewn. And I want to be
They're
like, how
mended.
fast are you sewing over there? Because it was like that whole time to find a threaded needle. Like, I just don't understand. Like, when they said that, I was like, was it the mom? Was she, like, really good?
It was Boo. Boo mended the pants and put them,
It was just
folded
nuts.
them neatly over the fence and put them back. I just loved that. And then the fact that Jem was so freaked out by it. My pants were mended.
He was very
and
emotional.
They knew I was there. Oh, that was actually revealed in chapter 7. But anyways, also in chapter 7, the children keep getting different knickknacks from the oak tree. And then eventually the knot that they find all the knickknacks in is filled in by Nathan Radley. Chapter 8, to me, and I wish I could remember this experience, but the first time I saw snow, that was chapter 8 when she's like, the world is ending.
Snowpocalypse.
Yeah. And then let's talk about the mud man that they make, because they can't make a snowman. They don't have enough snow.
Well, because they made the base.
They made
it
the
was
base
a good idea,
from
foundation.
mud, topped it with the snow. Again, when you talk about who are you in the book, and it's Miss Maudie, and she's like, oh, please take all the snow from my yard, because if they get on my azaleas, they won't bloom. The frost will kill them.
Yeah, she's
and I'm
like flipping out.
Like, I totally understand exactly what she's saying, because, yeah, one good frost and all your buds are gone. That night, the kids are woken up by Atticus to go outside. Miss Maudie's house was on fire. Everyone was outside trying to help while the children watched.
With all of the commotion, Scout didn't realize someone had put a blanket on her.
It was Boo.
Boo. The Boo thing, too. I was like, I think me and you go back and forth about if Jem saw him or not. Because
Jem
I'm like,
saw
why
him.
wouldn't he
He
tell her?
said
Why
he
wouldn't he be
saw
like,
him.
hey, Boo? Like, why would you just be like,
I think he
you
probably
think he was
like,
shocked?
yeah. Could you imagine seeing a ghost?
I mean, wouldn't you be like, you know, like you would say
Well, that's
something.
what happens. You went,
That's so
"Ah-ba-da!" and you like stop. You couldn't see him. Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
jeez.
Chapter 9.
Atticus begins defending Tom Robinson. Atticus wants Scout to learn to fight with her head and not her hands. Hands to yourself. Christmas comes and the family travels to Finch Landing. Scout beats up Francis because he insults Atticus. Uncle Jack only listens to Francis's lies and punishes Scout. Atticus and Jack discuss the trial and how it will affect the family. Oh, I'm so sorry. I keep going back, but chapter 9 was so big. This is also when Alexandra pesters Scout about not having dresses and stuff. This is the first time we feel the pressure for her not to be a lady.
Oh, that's true. Here we go.
Chapter 10.
Chapter 10, the dog.
The dog.
Okay, dog. Sorry. Chapter 10. The title of the book is first revealed in this chapter. Atticus kills Tim Johnson, that's a rabid dog, with one shot. Scout learns more about her older dad's past. This is such a weird chapter for me because it literally just points to Atticus had a past that the kids don't know anything about.
Oh, no, it's a complete shock because he said he never carried a gun.
So how can you imagine your dad all of a sudden in a new way that you never knew about?
Well, because I think, it was great timing. Obviously, it had to set the pace that he had other things, but it really spoke to, I think, all of us. We don't know our full parents' upbringing or, we weren't there for it. They were saying how he was an older dad and he didn't do the things other dads did. And even Miss Maudie said he can do a lot of things. He just does. You don't know about it. And they even joke around. He's like, well, he can write a really good will. It's cute to remember about the parents. And also,
do you
Jen
know
saying,
everything about your parents, or do you?
Oh no,
yeah,
I don't know anything about my parents. I think I know they're my father and my mother, and you know them as how they relate to you. But I feel like we don't. I mean, I look at Livy and I'm like, you're never gonna know who I am. I mean, I can tell her things, but you still look at your parents through a parent lens. Like they were never cool. They're like, I don't know. Okay.
Ooh, chapter 11. Ooh,
chapter 11's a little hard. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this is your Radley.
This is my Radley. I did not understand. Oh, man. Okay. Enter Miss DeBose, an old crotchety lady who allegedly hides a pistol in her shawls. Miss DeBose was a morphine addict and a very sick woman. Jem is forced to read to her after he destroys her camellias. She ultimately dies, but free of drugs, and proves how brave a person can be. What do you think? Why is this an important part of the story, and why do we want to tell this? And
really,
everybody keeps.
You didn't like this
chapter?
chapter?
I had no idea.
I thought
and because
this was
it's
a big piece here.
Really?
It was prepping them for the next
all
part.
About of how it means to be brave.
Being brave isn't like fighting with.
I didn't understand that.
Really,
I really didn't.
Oh, I loved it. I mean, when they're walking and this lady is literally taunting them, and they're literally having to be bigger than that, even if they were completely right.
Oh, he's not bigger than that. Jem, destroys her camellias, which I would have been very upset by because I love my camellias. How dare he, attack my camellias? But that's my only,
he totally gets schooled by Atticus and then has to pay the price. But it is such a lesson, I think, for everybody. It's like, it doesn't matter what the people are saying. It really is so great that she's completely tearing these kids down. I mean, they're little kids. They have no idea.
Yeah.
And Atticus is asking them to be bigger and just like anybody.
Yeah.
You really didn't like it? I loved it.
I didn't understand it.
Great.
I really didn't. Because she was horrible to them.
Because they had to prepare for what was coming. This is such a lesson, people were going to taunt them and everything's going to happen, but it doesn't matter what happens to you. You control how
Everybody's
you adjust it.
Dealing with their own thing.
Everyone's going to give you crap. You have control of how you feel about what they're saying to you. So he was saying about being a gentleman, waved his hat at her and was like, how are you doing? You doing good? Even though she had completely torn a new one.
She loved Atticus.
He completely got
terrible,
it. Right.
And
he knew, that was the other thing, he knew exactly what she was doing to her kids. And I mean, I'll tell you, if anybody said anything to somebody you loved, you would be like, excuse me, she just doesn't know. He knew where she was coming from. It was there was no responsibility on that end. And he just was like, you know what, it doesn't matter. You just got to keep going. I don't know. I mean, that's why he is so strong.
You bring up a very valid point. I did not get all that when I read it. I thought, why the heck is this chapter in there? He is so
even-keeled. And it's also great because he's kind of prepping his kids because it's about to get real
it didn't matter
serious.
Even if you had destroyed her camellias, I was going to send you over there anyways.
You got to learn your lesson. Yeah. It was totally something they had to learn. And especially, he knew
That's crazy.
The little girl was going to go there too.
Scout was going to go too.
Yeah. So, I mean, can you imagine sending your little kid to go see this lady
who's just
smelling horrible in a bed and
dying?
I mean, I don't know if I would send Livy there. It's just and getting literally cursed at the whole time.
Yeah.
You so horrible, blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
That's
it's training him up.
Wow, that's quite a lesson.
I kind of loved it, and I love that she sends him. She like torments him even after and sends the flower.
Oh,
remember?
Yeah.
And he was like, she's getting me even afterwards.
It was like all he did was like he was like, oh, you just pruned my camellias. You didn't actually
you didn't
destroy
get them all. Yeah.
Like, oh, thank you. You just pruned them for me. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Yeah,
man.
it was great.
All right, that's the end of part 1.
Woo! Let's go to part 2.
You did it. Woo! Part 1.
Let's take a little break. That was a lot.
It was a lot to unpack.
Stay in your traffic. We'll be back for part 2. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Hope your traffic gets better. Here's part 2. Part 1 was quite a lot to unpack, and part 2, thank God, is much shorter. However, is it or not?
No,
it might not.
It's a bit longer.
It's longer. But there is a lot to talk about. So part 2, let's dive in. Jem enters puberty. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I have to say,
I think it's the age difference too, to be fair. My sister and I are about 5 years and they're 4 years, and it's like that's what had happened, right? Like that 12, it's
difference.
Like you're just old enough to be not wanting to play house,
you don't want to hang out with your younger sibling anymore.
But I think he's not super mean about it. I think he could have been meaner. Yeah. But I think he gets that he's kind of like third parent or second.
No, well, he's like, there's nobody else for Scout to hang out with, really.
I love that he tells her to act like a girl. Oh. It's like the first time he's like, you got to start acting like a girl.
And it's like, what?
She's like, what are you talking about?
What? I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
And then my other favorite part about this chapter was Calpurnia takes them to her church.
Yeah,
and we kind of start to learn the other half of Tom's story. When they get to church, they are greeted with mixed feelings, but in the end, everyone settles down to listen to the sermon, which ends with being told to donate to Tom Robinson's family.
Reverend Sykes actually has the doors closed until they pool enough money. It was like sitting in a sweat lodge of guilt.
I've been to enough Catholic services where they do very similar things.
I don't go to those because I'm like, this is not the point. But
Chapter 13, Aunt Alexandra comes to stay and is determined to make Scout into a little lady.
I love the reference that when they talk about when they've heard him on the phone with her and he's like, I'm doing the best I can, Alexandra. And it's just so cute because you could totally see them as siblings too. Like, back off, lady. Like, it's fine.
Oh, you definitely see the dynamic of the sibling relationship.
And when I don't know if it is in this chapter. I don't think it is. It might be later. But when she threatens to get rid of Calpurnia.
That's the next chapter.
I was like,
that's the next chapter.
No, you got to step back, lady. I don't know if with Aunt Alexandra, I think he did need her to come because he needed more adults around because he knew he was going to be so engrossed in the case. I mean, yeah, she's a pill. I think that she gets the friction from the kids because she's coming into their own little ecosystem. It's like she's coming in as the foreign object. Yeah. And it's kind of like the teacher. She has to find her step in with their rhythm. And Atticus shuts her down sometimes. Yeah. But I think at the same time, whether Scout wants to or not, she is going to have to understand warfare of being a woman. Like, there's some sort of duplicity that you have to play, even a little bit. And I think Atticus can't teach her that. I mean, he's a smart guy, but he doesn't know that part of it. Yeah. Chapter 14. After dinner for their routine read and sewing moment, it was the Netflix of specials. Scout asked Atticus what rape meant. I can say it again.
No, it was so good. I hadn't read it.
Oh, so now it's like fun for you too. Woo! 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 This turns into her retelling Atticus about the day Calpurnia took Jem and Scout to church with her, which then gets Scout on wanting to go visit Calpurnia.
This blew Aunt Alexandra's mind, and she firmly says no. Scout then forgets herself and says, I didn't ask you.
Atticus immediately makes her apologize, which was a very good co-parenting moment for him. He tells Scout she has to listen to Calpurnia, himself, and Alexandra. Nope. He tells Scout she has to listen to Calpurnia, himself, And it's the ants. Okay.
And.
He tells Scout she has to listen to Calpurnia, himself, and Aunt Alexandra. That's a lot of grown-ups to listen to.
But when Aunt...
See? It's the aunt. It's like...
Do you say Aunt Alexandra?
I say aunt, but you say aunt, which I don't think is a problem.
Have I been doing that?
You said that once. I was like, are we from the north? It's okay. We're just from everywhere.
Well, it's funny. In my family, I have an Aunt Tanya.
But you have an aunt something
Steph.
else.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like what you grew up with.
Yeah.
For the anyway.
Okay.
But
now I don't know how to say aunt or aunt.
Whatever you feel.
But when Aunt Alexandra tries to suggest Cal should be let go, Atticus shuts that down. Then the kids go upstairs and Jem tries to tell Scout what to do. And she starts a WWE match. Atticus comes up and then shuts that down. But after their good night, Scout stumbles on something on her way to bed.
Thinking it was a snake, she enlists Jem, her frenemy, to look. To their surprise, it wasn't a snake, but Dill. He was dirty and starved. Dill had run away because he was being emotionally neglected from his parents. Because Dill is good at embellishment, we don't really know how far this goes, but it was tragic enough to make him come home to the one place that made him happy.
Long story short, Dill ends up staying with the Finch family. And basically, he stays with the Finch family.
And we
through
got a
the
betrayal.
triangle.
Our first childhood betrayal was from Jem. Because remember, this is when
yeah.
it used to be the three of them, and it was the code. You know, you don't tell your parents.
Because
he was hiding under Scout's bed when she tripped over him. And then
she was like, we're not going to tell.
Yeah, she told Jem, because there's like the cohort. And then Jem goes, okay, well, we need to tell Atticus. And without even like having a debate, he went into the hall and just grabbed Atticus. And the both of them were, whoa, what happened? Because he was, so mature. Wow. I remember thinking that. I was like, you didn't even give him a chance, Jem.
He kept it a secret. But to be honest,
but Atticus was great. Yeah, I mean.
You couldn't keep somebody like that a secret.
No, but I mean, they're kids, in it.
Next chapter, this is a pretty big chapter. We start to realize that Atticus might be in danger because Jem kind of alludes to us that people are calling him names and starting to get a little violent.
And then the guys are outside.
So Tom Robinson has been moved to Macomb's jail, and Atticus one night decides he's gonna sit outside this jail.
Oh wait,
I guess Atticus no. What? No.
They're in the house, and then the first thing is that there's men outside of their house that are calling Atticus out.
Yeah.
And it was that it's the only reason that people are standing outside your house to call you out of the house is death in politics or whatever.
Right.
But that they ended up being the friends, Tate and Heck.
Mm-hmm. That is the same person.
Yeah. Ugh,
Heck Tate is the sheriff.
Tate.
Atticus stands outside the jail because he knows that there's going to be people trying to create trouble. We don't know exactly what trouble they're going to try and create. However, Atticus is out there defending Tom.
Well, to get to that point, though, so the guys that were outside of the house...
Yeah, were also the
friends.
same
ones. They were...
No? Oh, they were different? Oh,
yeah.
I don't remember
okay. The guys outside were telling him, like, oh, they're going to move them, and then there's going to be a postponement, blah, blah, blah. And then it cuts to Atticus was saying, I'm going to go out for the night. Sometimes, apparently, he goes and works at his office. But Jem felt a feeling that he needed to go check on him. And that's when he couldn't convince Scout to stay home. Right. So then they go walking, and they notice that in the building where his office would be, there was no light. And he felt weird that something was going to happen because of the unsettling feeling. Mm-hmm. And then they see, I guess it's around the corner or something, the father outside with jail. A chair.
Yeah.
Just reading.
Under a lamplight.
Yeah, just reading something, like no big deal.
The newspaper.
And then that's when the discrepancy is because there's the car that comes. Mm-hmm. There's people that come out. You could tell Atticus, they said he was doing his little slow, calculated get up from the chair, dramatic moment. Scout is the one that messes it up because she thinks that it's the same guys that were outside the house. But they weren't. They were the Cunninghams. Right. But she steps right in it, and they were literally going to come and beat up or have a fight.
With Atticus.
And of course, Atticus doesn't have a gun. So
no.
Whatever. And then... But he's there to, console Tom because I guess they were going to kill him. But then that's when Scout
jumps forward
and she's like, "Oh, hi!" And
hi, Mr. Cunningham.
Yeah, and what I loved about the way that she explains it, because she's just trying to make conversation. She was like, "Well, Atticus always told me to start with something they can relate to," and so she goes like, "I know Walter."
Yeah. Which, if we come back to, this was the kid in chapter 2 who comes
with the
over.
Molasses or
the syrup kid. The syrup kid. Hey, do you remember that time your kid came over and poured syrup on everything. That's how he related.
I think what I loved from that scene too is that Scout kind of humanized him, and that's what Atticus says. Like, he made it so that they realized for even a second that they were humans too. This is the girl that's going to school with my son, and we're all here. And then that's what she really is, kind of the one that gets them to go. He just completely realized for a split second that we're people.
Yeah, this is not. Oh gosh, could you imagine?
Took on this gang of guys.
Yeah. Oh, hi, I'm a little kid.
Yeah.
I'm shut down. And she's 8 years old.
And she's like hopelessly going down the hole too, because the more she talks, she's, oh, maybe I just need to keep being more nice to these people and talking about different things.
Right, and just kept it going.
The first thing Atticus does is walk over to the jail window and tell Tom it's all over and to go to sleep. You'd think he would tell Scout, hey, thanks for being super adorable so we didn't all just die.
We also hear Mr. Underwood, who owns the newspaper in town, call down from a window with his double-barreled shotgun that he had them covered the whole time.
Again, what was he waiting for? It took a child to humanize a fight. That'll do, Scout.
That'll do. Chapter 16, the trial begins. And the children go to the courthouse. Everybody wants to go. It's a huge spectacle. Courthouse is packed, and the children have nowhere to sit. And so
they weren't supposed to really
And they weren't really supposed to be there, so they kind of snuck in.
Luckily, they're offered some seats up in the balcony with the black community. It has a better view anyway.
They got such a different perspective being in that balcony versus if they were down on the ground floor.
I think they could actually see. Yeah.
It was a better view.
Yeah.
2, it was really hot.
Oh, yeah.
Could you imagine?
And they had Dill.
And they had Dill with them. They're on the defendant's side of the case, and so they feel very personally attached to what's going on. And then now they know a lot about the case. So
yeah. And
I think it says a lot for...
Yeah, they're still lawyers' kids, though.
They are lawyers' kids.
They
talk about that.
They're like, we're not, some kids...
Don't get upset, Dill.
Some kids get upset because they feel like it's attacking, but that's their job. That's the prosecutor's job. And they're completely neutral about it. And I love it. They're my people.
Yeah, trying to explain to Dill, what's going on.
This is the game.
And then we meet Judge Taylor, who liked to chew an unlit cigar throughout his trials.
Yeah, I didn't love that description of the chewing of the cigar.
Well,
just light it or don't light it.
Yeah. Don't just chew it.
Yeah.
Ugh. It's like, all right.
There's a lot of saliva in this show.
There's a lot of saliva.
Yeah.
I'm having a lot of saliva right now.
Chapter 17. We start with Mr. Tate, the sheriff, who gives his testimony. Summoned by Bob Ewell, the father of the victim, Mr. Tate came to their home to find Mayella beat up and lying on the floor. When he asked who had hurt her, she said it was Tom Robinson. Despite
having clear bruises and claiming to be raped, no one called a doctor. They clearly haven't watched Law & Order SVU.
When Atticus cross-examines Mr. Tate, we find out that her injuries are on the right side of her face.
Then Bob Ewell is called to the stand.
While their home was built from filthy scraps, the exterior is lovingly described, looking like the playhouse of an insane child. I mean, it doesn't get clearer than that.
So here comes Bob, and he can barely contain himself as he gives his testimony.
Judge Taylor has to interrupt him constantly for language. It's like a Jerry Springer show.
Jem and Scout were indifferent to trial proceedings. As children of a lawyer, they knew the game.
Both lawyers do their job, and it isn't personal. Don't hate the players. Hate the game.
Anyway, according to Bob, he was on his way home when he heard Mayella inside screaming that she was being raped by Tom.
But then we also find out he was left-handed, which Jem deduces that Atticus is building his case.
The wounds on Mayella's right side would have been made from somebody who was left-handed.
So there's that. Chapter 18.
While the other Ewells were predominantly unkept, Mayella appears as if she tried a little.
We learn the way the Ewells live is like a sad X-rated Hallmark movie. There's barely enough money from the relief checks, but Bob drinks it away and is obviously abusive. The mother being dead, there is no one except for Mayella to try and keep everything at home together.
She didn't really go to school and doesn't really have any friends. When she recounts her version of the story, Atticus catches her inconsistency with the timeline of her assault. When she confirms again that Tom was the culprit, Atticus has Tom stand up.
The big reveal is Tom is crippled on the left side of his body.
Tom is crippled.
Tom's crippled.
Did I say Tom's crippled?
Tom is crippled. Dun, dun, dun. There is no way he could have hurt her. Mayella was stuck between having to accuse Tom, an innocent man, or having to accuse her father. She chose to save her immediate life and accuse Tom, but she did cry out of fury.
That's all she really had.
Yeah, it's sad.
It was sad. She's so sad. She is
a
sad character.
Sad. Yes, we'll discuss later.
Yeah. So then we'll jump to chapter 19. Okay. This is when Tom takes the stand and tells his part of the story, which is probably the truth, we can all assume. Tom explains the day of the alleged attack. He was walking by the property when Mayella asked him to help fix her hinge on a door inside. No, that's not right.
Yeah.
Bust up the chifferobe.
No, that was the lie that Mayella said. I'm pretty sure. We should check, though.
No,
but
I think you're right.
It was because she was trying to get him inside.
So
there was a chifferobe that he had fixed months before.
Which, okay, you want to know something funny?
And I hate the word chifferobe.
That word, chifferobe.
Like,
okay. I've never heard that word before this book.
But it's like a cabinet thing.
And then I heard my dad use it at Thanksgiving.
See, because now your ear was looking out for it.
It was.
Yep.
And I was just like, I've never heard this word before.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden now here's this word.
I don't know where I've heard it. I knew what it was, but
it's basically, it's like a wardrobe.
Yeah.
But it's a smaller wardrobe. So Tom explains the day of the alleged attack. Mayella tried to force herself on him, and Bob caught her. Tom ran, which made him look guilty. Mr. Gilmer paints a bad picture of Tom during his cross-examination. Dill, untrained, gets upset. He and Scout leave the courtroom and meet Mr. Dolphus Raymond.
Mm-hmm. Every time we say Robinson, I always want to go, oh, here's to you, Mrs. Robinson. But it's just not appropriate. Okay.
So Mr. Gilmer paints a pretty horrible picture, saying that, oh, he's really able-bodied. He could have beat you up. That you had asked him, Mayella, to break up this chifferobe or whatever it is. So clearly he was very strong man, even though he was crippled.
He could do it, because he did, but it was just not the timeline that Mayella had said. It had happened months ago.
Right. Dill gets really upset by what's going on.
And Jem, of course, is like, get him out of here. Like, you guys go down.
Get out. Yeah.
Jem wasn't going to go.
Yeah, Jem was going to stay, and he was fine. We meet Mr. Dolphus Raymond, and that leads us into chapter 20.
Mr. Raymond offers Dill a swig of his paper bag wrapped bottle to help his stomach. Dill accepts, and then we find out it's Coca-Cola.
Mr. Raymond has been pretending to be a drunk to avoid people. Smart man.
Yeah. He might have coined the holiday party coping method. I'm drunk. Don't talk to me.
I see what you did.
After getting a life lesson by the town's acting drunk, they go back inside. Atticus was giving closing remarks when he did something so ghastly, his kids were horrified. He took off his watch, undid his tie, and took off his coat.
He might as well have been naked. Atticus essentially breaks down that some people are good and bad.
And that we're not created equal like otherwise told. We all have advantages and disadvantages from everyone around us. The leveler is the quartz.
Before they could fully digest their father's words, Calpurnia shows up at the courthouse
and
says, the children are missing.
Talk about being busted in front of the whole town.
Man.
It's so embarrassing.
In front of the whole town.
And I'm sure Atticus was like, great.
Yeah, and so the children have been missing all day. I don't know where they are. We come to find Mr. Underwood is the one who gives them up and goes, I know where they are. They're up in the balcony.
But he's known, and they've known, he's known for chapters, right? Yeah. But it's so sweet that he was just like, all right, guys. I love that their first thing was like, you need to go home to dinner.
Oh, yeah.
You're in trouble. He still let them come back.
Yeah, to find the verdict.
Yeah. But that Atticus even says that he doesn't think that they'll be able to see anything because he thought the verdict would be fast.
Really quick.
That's what it would be. And then that's the victory, is that it took hours
for them to come to a verdict. But the sad news is that even though they debated for hours, the verdict was guilty. So then we go into chapter 22, where the children and the family all come grips to the verdict of the trial.
And Jem really has his coming of age moment here.
He really does. Yeah. He really does.
In the morning, Atticus and the kids wake up to a kitchen table full of food from Tom's family and friends.
It was a thank you for the fight.
Atticus is moved to tears.
To cheer up the kids, Miss Maudie made some cake and starts into it. She tells Jem not to worry. Things are never as bad as they seem.
She continues by telling them that there are some people who are born to do necessary unpleasant jobs for the community, and Atticus was one of them, and heck Tate.
I didn't understand that because she says heck Tate, but really it's like, why is the sheriff looking out? I don't think he's done anything that's good. He's just an honest man.
I don't remember that either. Yeah, he should have called a freaking doctor. You know? I don't know. The problem is Jem is now aware that Macomb isn't the community he thought it was.
Miss Maudie explains Judge Taylor had to appoint someone to Tom's case, and he chose Atticus. He knew he would actually fight.
Miss Maudie knew he could never win. I mean, everyone knew he wasn't going to win, but he was the only one that could keep the jury out long enough to make a step in the right direction.
And then Bob Ewell spits in Atticus' face at the post office, like a 5-year-old.
While Atticus used his handkerchief to clean off the tobacco spit. Ugh, I know.
So
I mean, flavorful.
now we're digging into, and I keep saying that, oh, this is the most important chapter. This is the most important chapter. But honestly, chapter 23, if you're going to read a chapter of the book, this
Read
is
chapter 1 and keep going.
Keep reading. A lot happens in chapter 23. Bob Ewell decides to start enacting his revenge, and he starts in little steps. And the children start to suspect that Atticus is going to be in danger as well. They start to understand why Boo might want to stay inside.
Aunt Alexandra is hosting the ladies from the missionary circle, and Scout learns firsthand how to be a lady. It seems pretty dull.
She can't really get why ladies would put hats on just to go across the street. But it's kind of like a mom meetup. Who has the cutest yoga pants?
That's so true, though.
While Scout admits to herself that she is more comfortable in her father's world, Atticus comes through the door and asks I'm
killing you here. I know,
how many
A words can I put in a sentence?
I know what to say. While Scout admits to herself that she's more comfortable in her father's world, Atticus comes through the door and needs to see Aunt Alexandra in the kitchen. Tom Robinson tries to escape from jail only to be shot 17 times.
And Cal has to leave. Oh, so this is
This is when they all realize that they have to go visit Helen and tell her that Tom has died. And Mr. Underwood, because Mr. Underwood doesn't care and he's got his ability to write in his newspaper whatever he wants, he, compares Tom's death, and this comes back to the title of the book, to the senseless slaughter of songbirds by hunters and children. Okay. So this is the second time we come to the reference of To Kill a Mockingbird, and that was from Mr. Underwood. So the first time we hear it from Miss Maudie, and the second time we hear it from Mr. Underwood. 26, it's 1935, and so Scout starts learning about Hitler in school, and she starts to understand hypocrites like her teacher, Miss Gates.
But your teacher's a hypocrite. Hypocrites for Hitler.
Hashtag hypocrites for Hitler.
Yeah. Jem is off to high school and morphing into his grown-up life. On the way to school, Scout continues to pass around Lise, but after all the events of her childhood, she's no longer scared.
But she still does imagine meeting Boo and having a conversation.
Before that, he reveals that he knew about Boo Radley and the pants.
Oh, yeah.
This was the first
Atticus
time
reveals
in their childhood time that she realized how much parents knew and that he just let it go for years.
You kind of slurred a little bit.
Slurred a little?
Okay. You slosh.
Micum.
You drunk over there?
Yep. Chapter 27.
Bob Ewell starts creating problems for people. The other big thing is the first annual Halloween pageant for the children. Due to previous years of pranks and thievery of the home of two older sisters.
With the nicknames
Tutti Frutti.
And it's not super important, but I couldn't pass saying Tutti Frutti.
The pageant has a skit type of play, and at the end, Scout gets her costume, which is this giant ham. Both Atticus and Alexandra can't go to the pageant.
I was really annoyed.
Okay,
by the parents.
I wanted to say, what parent is like, dude, I'm not going to your pageant.
I don't want to have to deal with people.
To be honest, like, I totally get like,
it, but
kids' pageants are lame.
You gotta go. It's your parent. Like,
but
I'm sorry.
Nope. We're just gonna.
Yeah.
Nope. Sorry.
I was just
we
like,
don't do that.
no,
I'm not going
so
to your
dumb.
pageant.
It was
not
so
going
dumb.
to your dumb pageant where you're dressed as a ham.
Which I thought was dumb.
He had a.
She's gonna be a ham.
I guess I could understand Atticus being like, I don't want to be there with all these people, blah blah blah, whatever.
But he says his kid.
No, it just moves the story along. So anyways, Scout does an at-home pageant so, she can show off her costume to her dad and to Calpurnia and Alexandra. She looks adorable as a ham and performs her line. I know. I want to know.
I'm like still.
I want
to
know, like,
think
it's
about
like ham cage with two little
like
eyeballs.
The bird cage.
Yeah, it's chicken wire.
Yeah, which sounds painful.
Yeah, that stuff is awful. At this point, Aunt Alexandra gets a bad feeling. That's it.
It's that women's intuition.
So then we go to the Halloween pageant where I freaking love that Scout falls asleep.
Oh, the first part was walking there, though.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Cecil kind of surprised them because it's so dark and they didn't bring a flashlight.
And he jumps out at her. Yeah. That kind of sets up that there's kids playing pranks. It's Halloween night. The pageant goes over horribly because Scout falls asleep and misses her cue to go on stage, comes in late, and she thinks she ruined the play, but obviously she did didn't.
And so they have to wait because
She's embarrassed to walk home.
Even though no one's going to see her because she's completely
covered in her ham costume.
What I don't get, though, is why she didn't change. They waited till everyone was gone, but she still chose to walk as a ham, pork, whatever. And it's full of, like, death metal in there. And they're just walking, but they think they hear, like, rustling in the floor. The floor. There's dirt.
They think it's Cecil.
Cecil?
Cecil? What did I say first?
Cecil? I don't know. We'll have to rewind it.
It's either Cecil or Cecil.
Yeah.
Like Cecil B. DeMille? Cecil?
I don't know.
I think it's Cecil.
Okay. Well, I think it's Cecil. Okay, you go.
They think it's Cecil. They think it's their friend at first. But then it's clear that someone is out to get them. No.
Okay.
Okay. No.
You have to commit to a Cecil or Cecil.
I have to say which one. I don't know.
But they thought it was Cecil, so they started calling out, and they realized it wasn't him because he would have, like, they did a joke or something. But every time they'd walk, they'd hear it. But then when they stopped, they didn't. And then Jem figures out that it's not good, and he's trying not to freak his sister out. Right. So then they keep going, and then I forget who pulls, something pulls, but she trips, and then there's
they
yelling.
know they get under the tree because he says
It gets
the
cooler.
line because the soil's cooler under the tree.
Oh, he wanted her to take the outfit off because obviously
It's easier
why would
for
you
him
walk
to
in a
run.
pork? But she said, I don't have very much on, which I thought was hilarious because he's holding her dress. And they were going to walk backwards because she left her shoes at the auditorium, which I also, side note, how are you walking around and just realize you don't have shoes on? Where are your shoes? How do you forget your shoes?
I have no idea. They're children. At that point,
Somebody kind of strangles her too. Like
Well,
there's
he
just a big
crushes her.
wrestle. Yeah, like she feels like someone's trying to crush her, and she hears Jem hollering.
she knows there's stuff going on. She can't see
And
because
if she
she's
does-
been crushed
Does she?
around this.
I don't think she can take it off because
She
at this
can't-
point
at
it's
that point
mangled.
she can't. Yeah.
And so then she sees that somebody's carrying Jem, and she thinks it might have been Atticus or
She
something.
thinks it's Atticus.
So
yeah.
she's following him, and they're all
Yeah.
going towards the house. They get in the house. Alexandra and Atticus are,
They call the doctor.
call the
They realize
doctor.
what's going on.
They get
call
her
the
out.
sheriff. Yeah.
But the nice thing, here's where I think the aunt kind of comes to, is that she pulls the outfit carefully off of the little girl and gives her overalls.
But she knew she'd been through a lot and wanted
Yeah,
some
she
comfort.
was just like so, worried about her.
Yeah.
And then she realizes it's Boo in the corner.
Yeah.
Once they go in,
That Boo was the one that saved him.
Boo was the one that saved him. I don't think we realize until the sheriff comes who actually did it.
Who? Bob?
Okay, she disclosed it.
We know it's Bob.
I
Oh,
know.
did we not say that?
No, that's why I was
Bob
asking
has
if you
attacked
wanted
the
to
kids.
disclose it.
Oh. Yes, Bob Yule has attacked
Yes.
the kids, that cowardly man.
And then we find out that basically what happened was Bob had been following them. Apparently had gotten the courage after hassling the judge, hassling Helen.
Helen is Tom Robinson's wife.
Right. A couple chapters back, he did spit in Atticus' face. But he had said to him, he's like, I'll get you, Atticus, before I die.
Yeah, if it's the
And
last thing I do or something.
He
like
got
that.
him where it hurt, which was the
With
kids.
kids.
And so we find out that with Jem, he was trying to fight him off, but he had actually popped his arm out or something.
He broke his arm.
Yeah, but it also the elbow doesn't work. It's lower. It got out of the joint.
He probably dislocated his shoulder.
And the elbow was pointed the wrong way.
He broke his arm.
Oh, it's more than broken though. Because they said it's lower. And
Right.
and this was the thing we had mentioned before, or not mentioned, but the very first page of the book forecasts that Jem has the accident. It's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet thing, and I don't know if she
Yeah.
copied that. You don't realize they tell you it's a tragedy from the beginning, and you're like, whatever, this is exciting. This new story. And that's
then
how
she
the story
tells.
unfolds.
Yeah.
But we find out that Bob had a kitchen knife stuck in him that he probably had brought. This is where I got confused because I was thinking that Boo did it. I was thinking he came out of his house and was like, cool, I'm going to kill him.
Okay, I think that's exactly what happened is Boo killed Bob. Because why would Bob have a kitchen knife on him?
But then there was
He would
also
have
a
had
pocket
the
knife.
Yeah,
Right? Which they found.
Bob probably had the switchblade, and Boo came out to defend the kids with a kitchen knife.
That's what I thought. And
Yeah.
then I don't know, towards the end they were kind of talking in half talks because they're trying not to say the obvious thing.
Right.
Tate's trying to be like, let's
'Cause
let
they-
this go because it's over.
Right, let the dead men lie.
Obviously Atticus doesn't want to follow and show this example. And he's like, no, We have to go to trial. We can't sweep this under the rug. But, you know, Tate's going back and forth. I don't know.
Jem
is he
was
trying
not
to
even...
save Boo, or is he trying to save Jem?
Okay, first of all, I think Jem obviously had nothing to do with
I
that.
don't think so either. Yeah, he was just trying to survive.
Jem had to put this behind him by saying, I'm innocent. This was self-defense. I had to do this.
That they weren't above it, that they were going to do the process. And I think he also said, again, like how he was with the Tom Robinson case, that how could I be their parent and just say, oh, it's fine. Right. You have to do to the letter of the law. The thing that stuck out for me, and I had to reread this a couple of times, and it was late, so I don't know. But
I reread it a couple of times.
It was, if we let this go, if we let that he just fell or like got hurt or he had an accident, that tomorrow morning maybe there would be food at the Ewells or something. Is that how you read it?
I didn't understand that. What do you mean?
There's a line where it says, where Tate finally convinces Atticus, and he's trying to let this issue go.
Then the Ewells, people will sympathize with them and bring them food?
Yeah, there was something to that effect.
I never got that.
Overall, that this quarrel will be done because Ewell got Atticus or whatever, and then they got Ewell. Yeah. And then it has to keep going. And so it was kind of the way I read it, that they were just letting this kind of be the best thing for the town.
Yeah.
But I still don't know that it's set well with Atticus at all. I mean, I think...
Oh, of course not. I think what happens is Atticus finally lets it go when Atticus puts 2 and 2 together and realizes it was probably Boo who saved the kids. And so really, rather than drag Boo out into this big public trial, he's like, okay, I get it. Boo wants to be protected and guarded.
Bob Ewell fell on his knife. That's what the story was going to be. I loved what Atticus looked at Scout. Can you possibly understand? And she was like, yep,
that's what happened. He fell on his knife.
And do
you think Scout knew it was Boo?
I still don't know if it was Boo. It makes sense because that's what my thought was. Either way, the idea is that she knows that she's kind of fibbing here. This isn't what happened, but okay. Even if it was innocently, might have been what happened because he's so big and he probably did fall, to be honest, if they tumbled. Whether Ewell died by the fall or if Boo did, he still had to get Jem out because this poor little girl's like stuck in this she's a ham
costume.
But I loved in the next chapter, it just kind of cuts to, they just go in this big buildup of her finally meeting Boo, like her fantasy she had mentioned before.
Like, oh, hi, Boo.
Yeah, she had this fantasy of just being like, hey, how's it going? All right, Mr. Radley or Arthur, we're gonna go to the room. And she kind of just knows, treat him with kid gloves. It's just weird that she knew that, and that he's so white, like a ghost, because he's just never seen the sun, and he's like coughing and stuff. So then I think, did he have the strength to kill Bob? Because he's so sickly, he couldn't even walk by himself to his house.
But could you imagine?
Maybe he spent his whole energy getting Jem.
Probably. You know, he's watched these kids grow up.
Yeah.
You know, to him, this is, what do we say, kid TV?
And she knew to put him in the shadow in the porch, which I thought was so sweet.
Well,
because he would be more comfortable, like not being in the spotlight.
Here's the other reason why I think it's Boo, because remember, Boo lives in the shadows. He was the only one accustomed to the
And they were walking by his house.
And they were walking at Narc. They were
narcs.
They were walking at night. So he definitely had the ability to see and help the kids versus a drunk man. And the only reason you could see Scout was because of the white streaks and the ham costume.
I thought it was interesting, too, that she walked him home.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone was okay with that after she had been attacked. Is this all right?
No, I think
I guess they didn't know.
Over.
But still, I think it's just so funny. It's like that small town where it's okay. Because I would have been like, no, you're staying home. You just almost died.
Yeah, but I think it's one of those things where Arthur Radley's house was within eyesight.
I know, but I guess it speaks to the small town.
It is.
But it was just so funny how it dawns on her when she gets to stand at the vantage point that Boo would have seen. And she realizes, you know, she goes through the seasons and sees what he would have seen the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
That was so pretty. It was kind of random to me, though, in the style throughout the whole book. And
it never comes really back to that way.
It just felt kind of weird at the end. I think we all said that it just felt like a different tone, maybe.
Well, and then she never saw Boo again after that. She says that, and that made me really kind of sad.
And then it just finished the way the book finished. How did you go about that? I know.
Kind of ends too soon.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Remember, Jem saw Boo the night Miss Maudie's house burned down.
I don't think he saw him, though.
He did, because he said if you just turned around, you would have seen him.
But he was just saying, like, if you had, you would have. Not like I did.
But I think that's probably why Jem wasn't afraid of Boo anymore.
I think he just grew up. I think he was like, whatever, Santa's not there.
Moved on.
Yeah. Okay. Like, looking at the last lines of the story where she asks, he's like, he was really nice, like, talking about Boo or whatever. And Atticus goes, most people are, Scout. out when you finally see them.
Yeah.
And even towards the end, or everything, like his kids were attacked. Just such a trooper.
Things are never as they appear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just they finally see him.
Scout begins to really see people for who they are. Mic drop. The book ends with the thought that Atticus will be in Jem's room until he wakes in the morning.
And that's it.
Ta-da!
We did it!
We did it! Well, that's all, folks.
You know books now. All right.
You know one book.
You know one book. And that wraps up our chapter summary of To Kill a Mockingbird. We're going to have a quick break and go to the bathroom. And we'll catch you back on the other side with wine.
I want to give a special shout out to our episode 1 sponsors, Brad Mayer from Precept Wines and Regina Wilson from Gruet Winery. Thank you so much for taking a chance and believing in our podcast. If you're in the New Mexico area, please check out their tasting rooms and look for Gruet sparkling wines everywhere you shop. Welcome back.
Yeah. All right, now that the business is done, we're going to start opening it up. And we're going to start with some wine. I didn't realize how much sparkling was out there.
Yeah.
You know, because you just don't think about it.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know for someone who primarily drinks sparkles.
This is about 75% Pinot Noir grapes and 25% Chardonnay grapes.
Wow.
Which are like my 2 favorite wines. So that's probably partly why I like it so much.
Yeah, it's very... it just is very pleasing.
Yeah, it's easy drink.
Yeah.
Very easy
Which is why sparkling is so
sweet?
great.
Not sweet. How do you say?
It's a little sweet, but I wouldn't say it's like a sweet. I don't know. It's not overly dry either. Yeah, it's hard for me to describe it when I just love...
Bubbly?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I do love it. I have only met a couple I don't love, and it was...
Why?
I don't know. It just tasted like when you can't swallow something. No comment. It just doesn't taste right. And... I think I'm going to stop. I'll just stop right there. Let's continue talking about funny. Grapes.
Oh, so it's bottle aged in oak barrels.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you a little bit about New Mexican wine because I didn't know there was such a long history about New Mexican wine.
I feel like everywhere has wine, and then I'm just still shocked that Georgia has wine. I know we've been killing it for a little bit
time,
now, but
who knew?
Nothing surprises me now, I guess.
Since you are quite fluent in Spanish, maybe you can help me with some of these names. In 1692, the Franciscan friar Garcia de Zuniga.
I think it's Zuniga.
Zuniga.
But,
which sounds
you know,
about right.
my
Garcia de Zuniga.
My mom tells me my pronunciation's horrible, so there's that.
Okay, anyways, Franciscan friar and a Capuchin monk, and that would be Antonio de Arteaga. That's how I would say it.
Arteaga. I can't roll R's, which is also hilarious.
I can't roll R's.
All of you. I'm going to say it's a handicap.
A handicap. Okay, you can't roll your R's. That's okay.
R's.
I can't roll my R's either. So we have a Franciscan friar and a Capuchin monk, and they planted the first wine grapes in the I say Rio Grande. What do you say? Rio Grande or Rio Grande?
I don't think I say anything.
How do you say it? In the Rio.
In the Rio.
In the Rio
That's
Valley.
interesting because for
Rio
communion,
Grande?
they needed some wine. That's what I would think.
That's exactly. Thank you. You got it. Basically took place up until the year 1880, and grapes were grown on over 3,000 acres, and the wineries produced over 1 million gallons of wine.
Whoa.
That's a lot of wine.
Yeah, like 1 million.
A million
even today,
gallons
I think,
of
is
wine.
a lot.
That's a lot of wine.
Wow.
Then we come to why New Mexico stopped being a leading producer, which would be Prohibition.
I would believe it, although I wonder if did anybody like secretly have vineyards? Because I mean, what did they do for communion?
So that
did they have to import it?
So Prohibition in the United States forced many of the wineries to close. However, others did remain operational.
So when did it come back up?
In 1978, the New Mexican government sponsored a study that encouraged wine growers to plant hybrid grape varieties in New Mexico. So there was this whole thing. So if you think about it, when Gruet came in 1983, that's not that much later.
Sure.
So they obviously were...
They're like, this is going to be good.
This is going to be good. And I think his name is Gilbert, although I'm sure he goes by Gilbert or something.
Or Gil.
Gilbert. Gilbert.
I'm not even going to try to pretend. I'm just going to call him Bert.
When Papa Gruet came to New Mexico to look for a place to put his wine, obviously he must have been affected by the study.
Yeah.
Because he brought French grapes to New Mexico and planted an experimental vineyard in Engle, that's Engle, New Mexico, which this is really interesting because it is about 10 miles from a town called Truth and Consequences.
That's what the town's called?
That's called, the town is called Truth and Consequences. I grew up in Truth and Consequences, New Mexico. So if you grew up in that town, please give us a shout out. I want to know more what that town is like.
Yeah, what's your mascot for your high school team?
Ooh. I was like, do you have an angel? I was about to say, do you have an angel and a devil?
Yeah,
as your
like a
mascot?
hammer. Like a scale.
A scale. It's Libra. It's the
Yeah,
Libra
it's
symbol. You're a Libra, aren't you? Another really important fact about Gruet wines that you might not know about, it has been called America's best sparkling wine.
Really?
It was the right region, it was the right climate, and very similar to what he was doing in Champagne.
I did know that they made wine because I think one of my fantasy trips with my husband post-baby is to just go out to like a spa or yoga retreat out there, do nature, and drink a lot of wine. So I think I did know this. I just didn't know who was there. But now I know that my favorite type of beverage, sparkling,
comes from New
Mexico, and that it just all the stars align. So I could do that.
You could do that.
I just have to have the guts to leave my kid.
If you're anywhere near New Mexico, they have a tasting room in Albuquerque and in Santa Fe. So please go check them out.
And aren't there like springs and stuff? Like there's like I think
there's
like
so much to
springs.
see in New Mexico, and
yeah, for any
just never been there.
Listeners out there, if you guys have recommendations for future hotel stays in Vineyard,
hook us up.
Let
we
us
want to know. We
'Cause
want to know where to go. What's
some
the best
people
place
want
to
to
be?
take baby moons, okay?
Yeah, right.
And post ones.
Maybe I just want to take a moon,
or just
Can
a
I
moon.
Just take a moon.
Let's just take another moon.
Why does it have to be baby or honey? I want to take a moon.
You have a cat.
Can I have a cat moon?
That's a cat moon.
Can I have a cat moon? Without even knowing it, this is such a great one for us to start with.
It's
so many
it
literally is a toast to start our podcast, but also it does relate so well to the book in the fact that in a literal translation of Blanc de Noirs being white of black.
And it's just so yummy. I mean,
and it's
bubbles.
Yummy. Who doesn't want to drink just sparkling wine? Like, come on. It
just goes down like nothing.
It really
does. In
a
good way, not in a bad way. So we've got our snack. We've got our beverage. So let's get into our discussion. Yeah.
Okay. So, Amelia.
Yeah.
Who killed Bob Ewell?
I don't know.
I know who I think killed Bob.
I think one of two situations. I find that it's either a scuffle. To be fair, Jem, I don't think it would be. It's not like you're guilty. I mean, if someone's attacking you in the dark, you don't know. I mean, it could have been that. But I think there was a kitchen knife involved. Bob doesn't bear. Okay, here we go. He doesn't have a kitchen. How's he gonna have a kitchen knife? He had a pocket knife with him. Right. So I think Boo, when he was coming to rescue, maybe he brought a kitchen knife. Maybe he stabbed Ewell. Maybe he didn't. I don't know.
I think that's exactly what happened.
I can't commit.
Because here's what happens. Ready? We find there's 2 knives mentioned in the final chapter. Is Heck says he took somebody's knife. Yeah. He has a knife he took from somebody earlier. But he doesn't say who it is. But I'm assuming that would be Bob Ewell's knife.
Yeah, because, those guys carry knives. We're in the South. We carry knives.
We carry pocket knives.
Yeah, and I don't think Jem did.
Bob Ewell's knife.
Yeah.
Now, Boo saw that the kids were being attacked from his porch. Mm-hmm. And so Boo, being protective of his family, went and got a kitchen knife and stabbed Ewell. Mm-hmm. And then that would be the knife that was left in the body. Mm-hmm. And of course, that's what made it seem like, oh, he just fell on his knife. So yeah.
Right. So we think it's Boo.
Yeah, so it's definitely Boo saved the kids, because I don't think a 12-year-old would have been able to defend himself.
I'm sure he could have maybe nicked Ewell, but I think either way, and I'm sure there's some diehard To Kill a Mockingbird fans. I actually didn't read anything online preparing for this book. I just wanted to read the book and interpret it the way my brain is, because if you guys wanted to know what the internet said, you could. So there, we might be completely off in our summarizations. But I think either way, the best thing is what Tate says about he just wants this to die. He doesn't want there to be you will try to attack kids and then you will die. And because he wants it to be all right, let's all take care of the Ewell kids. Be
there's been a tragedy.
People would be oh, I'm so sorry. Bring food to the Ewells. And, there wouldn't be this back and forth action. I mean, it was just going to go on forever.
What did you think of the ending and how the book ends? Because that's it? The book's over? That's it?
Yeah.
Do you think there needed to be some kind of resolution? It was so weird to me. Oh, I walked Boo home and I never saw him again.
Mm-hmm. And then
would you expect that relationship to change?
Yeah, I don't know why he had to be isolated, but I guess because of who he is. He wasn't meant to ever be a social person at this time of his life. And one side, I'm glad that we met him.
Yeah.
And he had a moment,
Yeah.
And then on the other side, I don't know if maybe Harper was just trying to be like, life goes on and this is it. And now we're continuing on and one step
was just
further.
A section of the story.
Yeah. I mean, obviously through Scout, she has grown up and she has learned a lot. But it was weird. So I don't mind necessarily that we'd never see Boo again. What I think is weird, we go home and Atticus is just reading, next to Jem to make sure he'd be fine. And then we end it. We know he's going to wake up because in the beginning, it refers to the years before his big accident. Right. And it's kind of sad because we find out he likes football, but of course now he can't play football because apparently his arm, which is fine, but still not fully functioning.
Right.
But it is weird. It's like, there's just so much good meat in the middle of the book. The trial's so good, and Atticus has such great statements throughout the book that the end maybe could never be whelming, as they say. It has to be underwhelming because...
Have you ever been whelmed?
Have you ever been whelmed? Because, there was so much goodness, and then now it's like everything finally released, and so you're kind of like, wah, wah. I don't know if that was intentional or if maybe I just suck at literary things.
No.
Okay, so I know one of the parts of the book that I really loved was when she's in school, and I forget what grade she's in at this point, but they bring up current events and the Hitler stuff and how she makes this connection where she realizes it's definitely socially acceptable to not accept Hitler, what he's doing to the Jews. And even the way that, was it Little Chuck Little or is it, I think it's Cecil Jacobs that does it.
Yeah.
Which he's so cute. You can tell he's just like, I don't know, but that's not good. I mean, it's clear, even a child can understand. Scout wonders, she goes, well, why is it okay for us to hate somebody so far away? Right. When in our own town, and especially after the trial, how is this not accepted? And I think for me, there's a lot of big themes in this book. And as a child, from the child and from adults and, doing good and all that kind of things. But what I like is not just the race, but social and economic status, is that we're not all necessarily equal, but we all need to respect each other equally. Yeah. And so I think that was one of the things that, especially the story being told from a child's perspective, there is something about they haven't had to make compromises. They haven't had to rationalize their feelings.
I do wonder how different it would be if it was one from Jem's perspective, being a boy and being older, and someone who is a little bit more in control with his emotions than Scout is. What would it sound like if it did come from Atticus, or if it came from Calpurnia, or even Aunt Alexandra? I can just hear Aunt Alexandra just being frustrated with this little girl who clearly is fighting her in every step of the way.
I think it goes to the fact, I think Raymond Adolphus explains this too. There's no clouded lens that a child has. You give them information, and that's literally how they take it. If you say blue wall, they're not like, well, the wall's kind of tainted on this side. They're just like, all right, blue wall. And so when you're explaining to a child good and bad and right and wrong, they're able to just kind of look at it and be like, well, why are you doing this over there? That's wrong. And so at the jail, when she's just like, wait, you're friends with us. Why are you, there's no adjectives to her life right now. There's just the facts. And I think that is something for us to remember too, of course, as adults. That was one of my favorite parts, is that
perspective.
Yeah. And I know this is now it's such a different time, but how he makes fun of women too with the juries.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because, first of all, if you're just looking at Miss Mowdy and Miss DeVos, they really would be horrible jurors.
They would be. They would be.
It also is such a small town. It's like, imagine your family being a juror against a case against you. You'd be like, this is uncomfortable. But I don't know. It's kind of funny.
It's funny, but I don't like it.
I know.
Hey, Amelia, guess what time it is?
It's character cocktails.
Character cocktails. Time for character cocktails. Amelia, what's character cocktails?
So character cocktails has emerged from the idea that we are all different faceted people. And because that is true, we're just mixing a couple characters. You make a cocktail that is Kate or Amelia. So we have a couple of ideas of our different combinations, and we'd love to hear in the comments wherever and whatever social media platform that what kind of character cocktail are you from To Kill a Mockingbird. So do you want to start, Kate?
Sure.
Okay.
I have 3 characters that I think I'm a mix of.
Now, before we start our character cocktail, what's the rule of thumb? Is like a cocktail's 3 ingredients? Should we stick to 3?
I think you can have I think you can have as many.
There's
as
like
you
a
want.
classic cocktail ratio. My husband always tries to tell me this.
Oh, okay.
But we'll have to come back to this. Maybe you guys know, but there's something like a classic cocktail or something's like 3 ingredients.
Well,
or
I think
2
a rule
or 4.
of thumb is 3 in general.
I don't know, but anyway, let's get into it. So character cocktails.
Obviously, my first one being Miss Maudie.
Sure, that's your base.
Because, if anybody I would directly relate to is the one that would be a gardener and a baker.
Sure.
Probably about 70% Miss Maudie.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a heavy drink right there.
If we're talking
like alcohol base.
If this was a Manhattan, it would be pretty much the rye of the Manhattan.
All right, Miss Maudie.
So my vermouth would be a bit of Boo Radley.
Okay.
And
Wait,
only because...
why?
Yeah, right?
Because your brains?
Because of my brains. No, because this is my reasoning. He's a bit of a homebody.
Okay.
Loyal to his very close friends.
Homebody is a very loving word for
Boo
special
Radley.
inside
All
the
right,
house.
fine.
Okay, homebody.
A bit of a homebody, loyal to his close friends.
Okay.
And gives the best gifts.
Yeah, that's true. They are very thoughtful. Artisanal.
Artisanal. Okay, so my last, my bitters to my Manhattan.
Okay.
My little drop. I think I'm a bit of Miss Caroline. And I say that.
I see that now.
Because I think it's sometimes.
You're so nice.
Well, I think, and what I said is sometimes a bit oblivious, but always wants to do good.
I didn't like Miss Caroline, so I disagree, but I see what you're pulling, because I think we disagree here. So I thought Miss Caroline was just dumb.
No, she was smart. She was just...
How is she going to come from another town and be like, I know how to teach your kids?
Here's the thing. Miss Caroline was such a tragic character in the regards that it's like, here's this woman who's fresh, probably out of college. She's learned all these ways to approach teaching and apply it to these kids. And she gets placed in this small town where she wants to do good, and she shows up and half of her class hasn't bathed. She has one student who's obviously stellar, and this kid immediately talks back to her. And even Scout's like, she's so pretty. I almost feel bad for her.
It's like, have you ever been to a class where your teacher doesn't ask you your names? Tell us a fun fact. It's like she just read a book of how to drive and never got behind a steering wheel and was like, I'm an expert driver now.
Okay, well, you gotta start somewhere.
I'm just saying, you could tell she was super cute and she was like with it. And I could tell, I don't think she was like malicious. No. I just think she
didn't get it.
She wasn't bright.
She didn't get it. She was oblivious.
And I don't want anyone to think that this is what I think Kate is.
No.
I actually disagree with Kate's cocktail.
A bit oblivious and wants to do good.
But yeah, no, didn't like her.
Oh, well.
But she, but she was supposed to be like.
To each their own.
Yeah, to each their own cocktail. Okay. We can't like all the cocktails.
All right. She was my bitter in my Manhattan, if that makes any
appropriate.
Help. Okay.
Yeah. So mine is. Now, I've thought about a couple different versions of this cocktail, but I do think, unfortunately, that I have a lot of Aunt Alexandra in me. Let's just be honest. And I do love Miss Deboose's spunk. And I do love Atticus's rationality. And I think that's already 3, but I guess I should add a nice person. I'm not a mean person.
Atticus is a nice person.
Atticus is nice. He's very rational. This is what I relate to. I guess I am also like a little like Scout in the sense that if like I get facts and I'm like, all right, that's it. So you said that and we're committed to this now and I don't understand. And totally related with her. She's trying to beat up her cousin. Not that I'm trying to beat up my cousins. I love you all. But it was just like, she's just so protective of her dad and her brother and stuff and her relationship with Dill. So I think, yeah, Aunt Alexandra, look, she's rough. She's had her own way, and she's trying to teach, Scout to dress and stuff. But she's just got a job. She's just trying to do her job. Like, she's just trying to be helpful. She's just got her principles.
The same thing Miss Caroline's trying to do. Just do her job.
What I love about Aunt Alexandra is she's just so unforgiving about it. This is who I am, and there we go. And I just love her relationship with Atticus too as a sibling. So I guess I'm a very tart cocktail in this book. But yeah, I don't know. I just gravitated.
Whiskey sour.
Yeah, I'm just a little little tart.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Miss DeBose, she just goes for it.
Yeah.
She doesn't care. She doesn't have time. She doesn't have time to be nice and sweet. And I think my alter ego is like that. Like when I'm tired, I'm like, I just don't care. That would be that kind of cocktail, I think.
Okay. Well, it's good to know. I like it.
Did we lose anybody?
What's your character cocktail?
Yeah, maybe you guys are like sweeter than we are. I don't know.
We were not sweet cocktails this time.
Not this time. No, we'll see you next time. No. Although, next time.
What do we say? Classics are classics because they're still relevant?
Yeah, I definitely think it belongs in the Bottle Classics lineup because it's definitely one of those books, even if you've never read it or you kind of vaguely know To Kill a Mockingbird, like it's a saying and there's definitely something you're supposed to know about it. So hopefully this episode gave you enough to glean from and have a conversation.
Yeah.
We're really excited to be doing this podcast and read again.
Yeah, really read again. This is something we put a lot of hard work into, and we want to hear your feedback.
Yeah, what did we get right? But what did we get wrong?
Yeah, that's what I really want to know.
Who killed Bob Ewell?
Who killed Bob Ewell? I vote boo. Let's do a vote. Let's take a poll. All right, so on our Facebook, we're going to do a poll. Who killed Bob Ewell?
Yeah, it's kind of like that, what is that show from the 70s? Who killed, or is it the 80s? Who killed JR? Do you remember?
No.
It was, okay, you guys are going to kill me for this, but wasn't it like Dynasty or something? Or like something that was like, who killed JR? And you never find out until like the end, and I still don't know because I didn't watch it.
Oh.
I don't think this is what this is, but I'm just saying.
So we want to find out who you think killed Bob.
Also, maybe you could do a tally of how many likes we have said on this show. We've been told we say like a lot.
A lot.
I think your prize is that you made it through without your ears bleeding.
So check out our bottle blog. We're going to post some recipes up there. We're going to tell more funny stories. And we're going to continue the discussion there.
And if you want to support the podcast and look cool doing it, check out our online shop. We have everything from tank tops to tumblers.
Bottled Classics is produced by Big Fig Productions. Each episode is written and hosted by Kate Rodick and Amelia Ramirez. Our theme music was written and performed by Funkcake. Our website and social media is designed by Clever Tiger. Photography for this episode was provided by Evan Martin. Would like to thank Brad Mayer from Precept Wines and Regina Wilson from Gruet Winery for supplying us with the most delicious wine. And lastly, we couldn't do this podcast without the incredible support of our husbands, Robbie Anderson and Alex Rodick. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest at Bottled Classics, or reach out to us at our website at bottledclassics.com. Please stay tuned as new episodes will release the last Sunday of every month. But remember,
drink and read responsibly.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
See ya.